Hey, it's Paul Ingram with Longevity Flow Arts. Today I've got 3 kind of little drills that you can practice on a regular basis that's going to help with keeping your legs strong and mobile, especially in the hips. Especially my friends who follow the channel here who are martial artists, athletes, hikers, backpackers, people that are active in their life. It's very important that we maintain the health, strength, and mobility of our legs and our hips since they're carrying us through our daily physical activities. So here are 3 super simple and effective drills that I like to do every day while I'm either getting breakfast ready or watching something on TV or YouTube, or even while I'm out training, hiking, or I'll even use these drills during my rest times during my workouts. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button if you're brand new to this channel. Let's go. All right, first drill that I like to spend some time in is just coming down here in a squat, in a full squat, trying to get my sit bones as close to the ground as possible. Now, we're not loading this squat here, so it's okay if there's a few little things that are not absolutely perfectly aligned. Right now, we would like to have a straight back, as straight as possible, but if you've got some flexion going on in the spine, that's totally fine here. If your toes are pointing straight, if they're pointing out a little bit, that's okay. You can have your feet directly underneath your hips, maybe a little bit wider. That's totally fine too. Again, because we're not putting any load on. Now, we might have our knees collapse a little bit in. Again, there's no load, so this isn't like a super big deal, but it is nice to go ahead and kind of press them outwards because we're gonna activate the hips then. We're gonna get those turned on. And that's gonna help to build the strength in the hips and help increase that mobility. Now we're getting some good knee compression here. The hip flexor is all the way flexed, and we're also working on that dorsiflexion in the ankles. Now, if this is uncomfortable for you, where you feel like you're starting to fall backwards, what that is a limit in the dorsiflexion that you have in your ankle. So it basically just means that your ankles are maybe a little bit tighter, a little bit stiffer. Now, what you can do there is a couple of things. You can either take some books, slide them underneath your heels or some shoes, or even if you're out here in nature and you find a terrain that's maybe got a little bit of a slope to it, then put your heels on the higher elevation of that slope. And what that's gonna do is help take some of that angle out of your ankle, and it's gonna help release that ankle a little bit more. So it'll make it a little more comfortable to come down here and get in this deep squat position. Now, you could always hold on to a chair or a table or a tree or something like that if you wanna help pull your chest forward and get that spine a little bit more straight as well. But the other thing I like to do is when you're in this squat is play around in the squat. You don't have to sit there and be strict and just sit there and do nothing. Play around in the squat a little bit. Come up into your, off your heels a little bit, lean into one side, really work the flexibility here in that dorsiflexion in the ankle, working on the other side. Maybe even try to reach up to the sky on one side, reach up to the other side. You can tap the knee down to the ground. Okay? You could even kind of just come up. Just play around here a little bit. Around the spine, extend the spine, come up on your toes, and just play around in the deep squat. This next drill we're gonna take straight from the martial arts, and we're gonna be working some basic stances. Working our stances from martial arts is really good, not only for the strength in our legs, it's gonna help strengthen everything from our feet, especially if you're practicing barefoot here. It's gonna help strengthen the ankles, the calves, the hamstrings, the quads, and it's also gonna help strengthen the hips and also improve your hip mobility. Keep those knees nice and strong as well. So our first stance is our horse stance, and we can just start very simple with our hands in a prayer position. You can kind of pretend like you're holding a ball. A lot of different positions you can go into with your hands, but basically all we're gonna do is open up our feet a little bit wider than hip and shoulder, and then we're just gonna bring our weight down, bending our knees. And you wanna go as low as you can where you can keep the back straight. And it's okay right now in the beginning if your toes are facing forward, that's great. If they're facing out a little bit, that's a little bit more comfortable right now in the beginning, that's fine. Start with where you are. The main thing you wanna make sure is that your knees are tracking your toes, they're not bent in, they're not caving inwards, and they're not going too far past your toes. You wanna keep them right over the ankles here, and just go as low as you can. And hold this position for, in the beginning, shoot for 10, 15, 20 seconds, and gradually working your way all the way up to a minute. And over time, you can see if you can get lower and lower and lower. But if you gotta start up high, if this is giving you a burn, just start right there. Work with where your limits are for now, and over time, you can make those improvements. But not only the horse stance, I also got a little drill that's gonna take you through some of the other basic stances from martial arts as well. And you'll see these stances a lot in like Pencak Silat from Southeast Asian martial arts, Kung Fu, Chinese martial arts, a lot of different ones. So the drill is we're gonna start right here in our horse stance. We're gonna take the right leg, we're gonna step forward into our bow stance. We wanna make sure that our hips are coming forward, the front knee is bent, we're tracking the toes, there's no caving in or caving out, and that back leg is straight. Then from here, we're gonna step the right leg back into a low cross stance, just like this. And then return to our horse stance, and then we're just gonna work the other side. Left leg comes up, we're in that nice deep bow stance. See how low you can go, just work again within your limits. If you gotta be up higher, if this is a lot for you, then work right here, that's perfect. Okay, and then over time, you can work on dropping it and getting it lower. Drop the left leg back into a nice low cross stance, just like this. In Silat, we call this Sempak. Different martial arts will have different names, but it's the movement that's the most important thing. And then you're back here in your horse stance. Let's take another look at this from another angle so that you can see it. So we have our horse stance, then we step forward into our bow stance, drop it back into our cross stance, and then return to our bow stance, or to our horse stance. Left foot stepping forward into our bow stance, drop it back into our cross stance, and then back into our horse stance. Getting your stance work in, basic from martial arts, is a great way to increase your leg and hip strength and mobility and overall health of your lower body. Plus, you gotta stabilize by engaging your core. The third drill that I have for you is gonna help keep our legs and our hips in good health, strong and mobile, is just a few different ways of sitting on the ground. And we're just gonna take a seat on the ground with our legs extended straight out in front of us. I like to keep my feet together, so I want my toes, my big toes and my heels to be touching here. And we're just gonna take a nice seat on the ground, just nice and comfy. Now, we do wanna make sure that we are able to sit straight up here, maybe even start leaning forward. If you're having a hard time with that, where you feel like you're kind of stuck over here, you maybe got some really tight hip flexors, then what you can do is you can prop some blankets or a cushion underneath your sit bones, and that's gonna help elevate your hips, and it's gonna take some pressure off of the hips. That's gonna help you sit more straight up. And that's totally fine if that's where you have to start. And over time, you can reduce the height of the cushion or the blankets as you're opening up those hips and getting those hip flexors more flexible, and then you can get yourself lower and lower to the ground over time. But this is our first sitting position. I'll take you through a little flow of 4 different sitting positions, nice beginner on the ground sitting positions I like to go through. And the first one is just right here, right? We're sitting with our legs straight out in front of us, feet are together. Second one is I'm just gonna bring the feet in, get the soles of the feet right on the ground. You know, it's kind of like how a kid sits, or how we used to sit and watch TV or something when we were little kids, sitting on the floor, right? Sit just like this. Then we go into our crisscross applesauce. One leg goes over, drop the knees down. And again, we wanna make sure that we're sitting as tall as possible. We should be able to lean forward in all these seated positions here. Again, you could be doing all of this on a couple of blankets or on a cushion. That's gonna help elevate your hips, so that way you can elongate your spine a lot more. Now, once we're in this crisscross position, you're gonna notice that my left leg is in front. I'm gonna take it, swing it back behind me, and now we're in a position that is called Sawa. Out of Pencak Silat martial arts, we call this Sawa. And this is a really good position to spend time in because we have some external hip rotation going on, and we also have some internal hip rotation going on that other leg. Now we're just gonna reverse everything. So I'm gonna take the left leg, bring it all the way back to our crisscross, bring the soles of my feet to the ground, and then extend my legs forward. Now we just gotta rep it out again doing the other side. So I'm gonna bring my feet back in, soles of the feet plant on the ground. This time my right shin is gonna cross over my left. There I am in the crisscross position. And then my right leg is going to swing out and behind me sitting in Sawa. Now my left leg is in external rotation. My right leg is in internal rotation. This might be a stretch for you. That means you gotta spend a little bit of time in here. Again, if you needed to, you could have your body, your hips propped up on some blankets or cushion, pillow, anything like that. And I just like to rep this out and just go through these seated positions. Just use this as like a little drill. Try to not use your hands if you possibly can. All right, just use your core and your legs to maneuver through all these different basic seated positions. And we can always advance from here. And there's all kinds of other exercises that we can incorporate inside of each one of these seated positions. We can go into our leg lifts. Come out here, go into our windshield wipers. We can go into our crawling out, bring it around. And we can try to lift this back foot off of the ground. And we can go into our different stretches. All kinds of stuff here that I can make some more videos on if you're interested in some of those other exercises that we can add into these different positions that will help to enhance these positions even more and really work the strength and mobility in your hips and legs. All right, my friend, that is 3 super simple drills that I like to do every single day to maintain and improve on my leg and hip strength, mobility, and overall lower body health. When you're going through all these drills, you're gonna notice how the core has to be activated. So the core is always turned on. When we talk about the core, we're talking about not just the front here and the abdomen, we're talking about all around, all the way through the spine, the pelvis, everything. That's the core. And all that's gonna be activated to stabilize the body so that way you can get all those movements and subtleties in. You could work all 3 of these drills in one session, or you can just choose one, do that in the morning, do the next one in the afternoon, and do the 3rd one in the evening. They don't always have to be back to back. Or again, I like to use them sometimes during my rests with like my more intense strength workouts and stuff like that. So maybe I do my reps of pull-ups or push-ups, and then on my rest for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever length my rest is, then I'll use one of these drills. So that way I'm not just sitting there doing nothing or like, playing around on my phone or something, right? I'm still actively working something on my body, getting the biggest bang that I can out of the fullness of my workout. All right, my friend, if you like these drills, maybe you want to see more, maybe you have some questions, go ahead and leave those down in the comments. Hit the thumbs up button on this video and make sure you subscribe here to the Longevity Flow Arts channel. Everything we're doing here is about longevity and maintaining the capability and capacity of our body, our mind, so that way we can live freely in our bodies and feel good for all of our days. All right, it's your turn. Go get after it. Get out there, go play, go be experimental, go have fun, move your body. I'll see you back here next time.